Welcome once again to Auto Mundial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week, Aston Martin lifts the covers on a jaw-dropping piece of automotive design.
We've also got the clash of the tradies as the all-new Mercedes Sprinter looks to conquer the van market.
Plus, Land Rover puts its most powerful V8 ever in the Defender.
That's all coming up. First though, the news.
Earlier this year, we presented Renault's latest coupe SUV, the Rafale. Sporting rather eccentric and sporty looks with its sharp angles and square stunts, we enjoyed the design but felt its 200 brake horsepower hybrid specification sheet lacked the oomph its look suggested. But now Renault has just launched a plug-in hybrid version of its sporty SUV. The E-Tech 4WD300 gets, as the name suggests, a more appropriate 300 brake horsepower thanks to a 136 bhp electric motor on the rear axle. Despite its added bulk due to the 22 kWh battery providing 65 miles of EV driving, the Rafale will now hit 62 from a standstill in 6.4 seconds and top out at 111 miles per hour. An Alpine-tuned chassis and several cosmetic enhancements also feature on the range-topping edition that will cost you £45,700.
From humble, rugged beginnings to a flashy mid-size family SUV, the Toyota RAV4 has amassed over 14 million sales worldwide since its launch 30 years ago in 1994. Now in its fifth generation, the Japanese model is among Toyota's best sellers and consistently features highly on monthly sales charts in class, and visually you can see why. Sharp angles and bolstered shapes all make the model appear beefy, giving it a capable stance. Inside, plastics and a very functional design make the Toyota a usable model on a day-to-day basis, especially for younger families. Below the precariously perched 10.5-inch infotainment screen, a nice set of climate control dials look great with lots of tech coming as standard in the base model. Higher trim levels may well get heated seats, heads-up display and LED headlights, but an entry-level RAV4 will do very nicely. Space inside is plentiful, with the model making the most of its 2.7-metre wheelbase, distributing it evenly between rear passengers and the boot. Powering every RAV4 is the same 2.5-litre petrol engine. We'd suggest opting for the perfectly capable front-wheel drive model, as while all-wheel drive does provide 4 more horsepower to the standard model's 218, it will also guzzle more fuel. A plug-in hybrid also exists with upwards of 300 bhp, but the additional price will leave most stunned. The Toyota RAV4 is available from £40,000 in its most basic front-wheel drive form, and prices capable of approaching the £50,000 mark with all the bells and whistles of the PHEV selected.
But fear not, as you don't necessarily have to spend quite that much if you're in need of a basic family mid-size SUV. The MG HS hits the market at just £25,000, presenting as a large family car for little money. Thanks to a recent facelift and despite its gaping front grille, sleek headlights and edgy lines make for just as good-looking a vehicle as the RAV4. We especially like the angular rear end that manages to reduce the car's visual bulk. MG's work to update the HS hasn't just made it a better-looking car though, as where the outgoing model presented its budget nature on a cardboard platter, the new car hides its flaws nicely. Inside, a very simple cabin blends soft touch upholstery with piano black details along the dashboard and well-proportioned vents. Dual 12.3-inch displays sit just below the driver's eye line and do well to preserve the dash-top line. We may not be a fan of the basic infotainment software layout, but phone connectivity will rapidly fix that issue. Jump in the back seat and you'll find plenty of space for your knees, benefiting from a longer wheelbase than the RAV4, as well as nice big windows letting in good light. And with this new model's larger dimensions, boot space grows by 44 litres. At 507 litres, it won't quite fit as much as the Toyota, but is plenty for your weekly shop or a family's worth of luggage. Despite the car's low price, HS comes with a long list of driver assists and tech as standard, from adaptive cruise control and rain-sensing wipers to electrically adjustable front seats and parking cameras and sensors. Currently available in the way of power offerings under the HS's bonnet is a single 1.5-litre turbocharged petrol engine, good for 165 brake horsepower. Here is where you get a sense of the model's budget nature, however, as the claimed 38 mpg is far from class-leading. Soon hitting dealership forecourts, however, is the £31,500 plug-in hybrid version of the same engine, with an additional 24.7 kWh battery providing up to 75 miles of electric-only range. Fuel economy around town improves drastically. And with a relatively small price hike to this more eco-friendly model, it is certainly the one we would suggest.
Even upon its launch in 2019, the new Land Rover Defender far from struggled off the beaten track. Good power, bucket loads of off-road driving assistance and a long list of equipment, all in the aim of improving its assault on muddy bogs. It was certainly capable. But in recent months, rumblings of an even more capable and crucially even more powerful model have been heard in the distance. Well, the all-out brute in a suit is now here, and it looks rather similar to the standard car. But don't be fooled by its gown, as under the new Defender OCTA's shell is a 630 brake horsepower 4.4-litre twin turbocharged V8. That means that despite chunky all-season tyres and a top-heavy look, the so-called OCTA will complete the 0-62 sprint in just 3.8 seconds and speed all the way up to 155. And if that all gets a bit scary for you, high-performance Brembo brakes will make sure that you stop just as fast as you accelerate. Performance is but one half of the story with this new Defender, however, as an arsenal of clever kit helps it cover rough terrain with ease. Hydraulically interlinked suspension with greater articulation, clever loose surface launch modes, ABS calibrated for off-road scenarios and high and low range gear ratios all make the OCTA quite the rugged animal. Not to mention the fact it sits considerably higher than a standard Defender for better clearance. Whilst OCTA looks very similar to the standard Defender, a limited edition 1 model is available, adding various luxuries like special paint colours, carbon fibre trim pieces, larger wheels and tougher tyres. Starting at £143,000, the new OCTA package is only available on the mid-size 110 Defender, as Land Rover looks to outperform and outprice the infamous overpowered Chelsea tractor that is the Mercedes AMG G63. If that doesn't sound special enough for you, an extra £15,000 gets you the OCTA Edition 1.
After the break, a refreshed Mercedes Sprinter takes on the legendary Ford Transit.
Welcome back. Coming up, the Aston Martin Vanquish returns and as pretty as ever.
High top, low top, short wheelbase, long wheelbase. The van comes in all shapes and sizes, and despite being one of the most understated segments in the passenger vehicle market, the commercial van is one of the most important parts of the industry. There are several commercial van options around, but if you're in the UK and looking for a capable van, the Ford Transit has been the established go-to for decades. The Blue Oval's commercial halo will turn 60 years old, and yet in its facelifted fourth generation still looks as fresh as ever. In fact, it is its under-the-radar appeal that we appreciate about the model, alongside its versatility. Be it the smaller custom Transit, all-electric e-Transit, this regular model or a crew cab design, there is a Ford van to match your needs. Between rear, front or all-wheel drive and various transmission options, there are 15 possible drivetrain variants available for the Transit, but powering each of them is a version of the manufacturer's 2-litre EcoBlue turbo diesel engine with either 100, 125 or 160 brake horsepower, each achieving around 30 mpg according to Ford. If you're looking for extra power for fewer emissions, the electric e-Transit will pump either 180 or 265 brake horsepower to the rear wheels, though 186 miles of range is nothing to write home about. Moreover, EV tech will struggle when you start loading up with kit. Indeed, the standard diesel model will carry up to 1.2 tonnes in its rear loading bay, while more powerful models are rated to tow up to 2.8-tonne trailers.
An impressive specification sheet, there is no doubt that the Ford is a popular choice among the commercial van market. However, Mercedes' Sprinter is also a mainstay in class, consistently rivaling the Blue Oval. And in 2024, there is a new one. Aiming for 50% of all Mercedes vans to leave the factory in EV form, this e-Sprinter gets particularly attractive specifications from its top-of-the-range 113 kilowatt-hour battery and 300-mile range to its 2-ton towing capacity and higher gross vehicle weight of a tonne. The old-school version, however, sits far closer to the Transit specifications with its 2-litre diesel engine and choice of power figures between 114 and 190 brake horsepower. Similarly, all-wheel drive, manual and automatic transmission options make the Sprinter a versatile beast, especially in this raised 4x4 variant. A stronger chassis and drivetrain system mean the Sprinter in combustion form is rated to carry over 2.5 tonnes of payload, twice what the Transit will haul in its larger load volume. The Sprinter's cabin gets a nice yet rugged-looking 10.25-inch touchscreen with smartphone connectivity. Wireless charging and plenty of cup holders will also be a bonus aboard Mercedes' latest van. For all that, Mercedes will charge you £42,500 for its go-to commercial vehicle.
By contrast, the Ford Transit kicks off proceedings from just under £39,000. For that price, you might not get the same visual class as the Mercedes inside, but tech is very much present. Whilst the Mercedes will reach higher payload and towing capacities in higher editions, entry-level models sit at similar capabilities. So it looks like the Transit very much remains the top dog in class to us.
A long-standing monkeyer with almost 50 years of history and the base of one of the most popular performance saloons on the market, the BMW 3 Series is among the Bavarian manufacturer's most important models. As such, development of the mid-size executive saloon presses on, as it's just received what is its second facelift in just 3 years. But from the outside, you might struggle to point out the new from the old. In fact, this newest refresh focuses on optimising the car's range of powertrain offerings and reducing emissions. At the core of that mission is a farewell to the Diesel 3 Series. Yes, the list of engine offerings, once upwards of 10, is now down to just 3 in the UK, with a plug-in hybrid model sitting above a pair of petrols. At the 3 Series entry point is the 320i with its 184 brake horsepower, 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. Getting around 40 miles per gallon on average, it hits the market at £39,000 as a fantastic company car. But if you're missing diesel efficiency, the £46,000 330e shares that same engine, while adding a 19 kilowatt-hour battery for PHEV form. 292 bhp, 6 seconds to 62, and around 60 miles of electric-only range all sounds like the perfect compromise to us. But if that all sounds a bit tame to you, a 3-litre straight 6 powers the M340i as the most outgoing model without jumping for the range-topping M3. Yet at almost £58,000 before options, there is a chance you'll always curse yourself for not making that jump. In either case, the new 3 Series is available with the larger touring body shape, which will inflate prices by £1,800. Whilst it was the model's previous facelift that gave it its curved display, pairing a 14.9-inch infotainment touchscreen with a 12.3-inch driver display. This newest update brings up-to-date software, allowing for a smoother experience when navigating the screen's menus. However, much like the exterior, there are very few visual cabin tweaks aboard the new 3 Series, already a rather pleasing place to be, in our opinion. The new Shape 3 Series is available to order now, with deliveries just starting.
The very height of Aston Martin opulence and performance since the turn of the century, the Vanquish name is one of the big poster cars for the current generation. The original of its name launched in 2001 with gorgeous styling and a great big throbbing V12 sat under the bonnet. It went on to die another day in Hollywood and has ever since attracted the gaze of onlookers. Over the years, the nameplate has seen some change, not least in the form of this 2019 concept unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show. 5 years ago, the model sat alongside the epic Valkyrie, touted as the manufacturer's first series production mid-engine supercar.
But as the automotive industry's most important personalities gathered in Venice for the unveiling of a Vanquish for the new age, its covers all but resembled the outline of a mid-engine mini hypercar. A long bonnet and bold arches point towards a Vanquish retaining its traditional GT form, something Aston Martin Formula One driver Fernando Alonso clearly appreciates.
A very excited night, I think, for the Aston Martin family. One of the most iconic cars, you know, we will see the new version of it. So I hope to see some of the DNA of the Vanquish that is very iconic. I think the side view has been always a continuation in the previous versions of it, and I think the new technology that all the Aston Martins has.
And here is the all-new Aston Martin Vanquish in all its glory. Under the headlining model's stunning shell sits the base of a DB12, though the long bonnet is even longer, getting an extension between the front wheels and the door. Despite this, the Vanquish gets more bracing and stiffer suspension for greater rigidity. But really, it's the new car's looks that grab all the headlines, from its iconic side profile to brilliant details like the tail-light blades and large rear boot lid panel. With its massive front grille, we'll admit to preferring the new Vanquish from the rear rather than the front end, though few will ever really see the car from the front anyway. Hiding under the even longer bonnet sits what is now the only V12 in Aston Martin's standard range, the 5.2-litre twin turbocharged unit pumping out a class-leading 830 brake horsepower. This also makes Vanquish the fastest production Aston Martin ever, with a top speed of 214 miles per hour. Inside, you get all the luxuries you'd expect of a modern Aston Martin, from brilliant upholstery to a classic dashboard appeal. The centre console does look somewhat cluttered, but we certainly appreciate the 10.25-inch touchscreen sitting away from the dashboard top. Aston Martin's Halo car, just 1,000 examples of the new Vanquish, will leave the factory each year with order books now open. But don't expect to be among the first customers to take delivery of your new Aston when deliveries begin at the end of the year.
That's all we have time for today, but there will be more glitz and glamour next week as we head to Blenheim Palace and Salon Privé. Don't miss it.